I got about 300 songs, so.
Sit tight.
Yeah. You're only getting a small percentage. Yeah. Hey, I've been doing this for almost 50 years, so I think it works out to about 6 or 8 songs a year sometimes. Some years were more, I don't know, prolific than others. It's like some conversations, I say a lot more than others. But okay, if we haven't found the one I don't say much in yet. We keep looking. Speaking of storytellers, this, I think, cool book from, it could be a while ago now, because the song is from 2008, so that's 15 years, and I read the book before that. Frank Delaney is the author, and the title is simply Ireland, but the cool part for me, 2 things. One, it kind of features a storyteller character. Generally speaking, these days we're pretty private with our households and stuff. You don't just expect people to come waltzing up the lane and come in and sit down for the afternoon or something like that. In fact, some people wouldn't quite know what to do if somebody come up to their door, especially if they didn't already know them, and they might give them encouragement to leave. Now, this in Ireland, it was a bit of a tradition that some somewhat derelict-looking individual would come into your place and come in and sit down by your fireplace, and you'd have to stoke the peat a bit, and you were supposed to invite your neighbors in, and then they'd sit and tell stories. Imagine that. And then you'd have to find them some food and a place to sleep in your barn, and then they might stay 2 or 3 days because that's a good place to be, and then you'd invite more neighbors and they'd tell different stories, but all the myths and legends of Ireland, and so it was the history lesson and this kind of stuff. Anyway, I thought that's pretty cool. Anyway, because we actually kind of experienced that, but it wasn't a stranger. Although we haven't met many people stranger, but this lady who used to look after people's kids up in Old Sound and stuff, but she'd be back home every weekend, and she'd be at church lending her interesting reedy voice to the choir, and maybe on the Sunday afternoon she'd come strolling in and sit at our kitchen table and could pretty much talk without taking a breath for like 3 or 4 hours. But it was all cool stories, and it was all the story, like she was a little younger than, say, my grandmother, but she knew everybody that was connected there. So you heard stories that actually were matter and this kind of stuff. And they were all, and she didn't tend to repeat herself very much. So to have that, somebody shows up, now, she didn't stay overnight, probably because a dog bit her once when she was visiting. Dog was never the same, because she was about 80 pounds of bone, like there wasn't much else. And the dog thought he'd check and see if, I guess she had blood at all, but anyway, dog went running off. He said, I think I'd rather chase ground dogs. But anyway, she used to come and visited our place. And
true story.
True story, there you go. That was, the dog only bit one other person, but that's the way it goes. We had some people visiting. We were playing, out in the front yard, and like wrestling over a football or something like that. And the visiting Mr. McCarthy made the mistake of tackling my brother Miles, the farmer, whose dog it was, or the dog was very attached. So if anybody was going to be giving his master a hard time, they were going to feel the wrath of his teeth. So it was a little nip. So Danny had to go home backing out the door. Sorry, Mrs. Ryan, but my pants are not very good. I had to go home.
Did he eat any hot chocolate that day?
No, he just went straight home. So that's half of the Ireland story. The other half was, I guess, up until some point, you don't really realize how Irish you are. And there were phrases and stuff that showed up in that book that I thought, well, that's just kind of the way we talked at home. But it was much more than that. It was the fabric of what I was reading, and it was sort of like, oh, I guess, we must have good memories, because, you run out of potatoes and then you're gone for 100 years. You think you might have changed a bit, But it didn't really seem that our household was very far removed from what I read in that thing. It was wonderful. And one more deal. I kind of have the, you talk about how people have natural inclinations or whatever. And I guess it's what I usually try to refer to as like genetic memory or something. So good stuff or crappy stuff that happens to you, how come 2 generations later you have an aversion or a preference for something that you have no experience with? And so in 2014 we went to Ireland, and you put your foot down on the soil for the first time and you go, oh geez, I'm at home, you know? And it's a visceral, a real feeling. Pete and I have talked about this. If I've got it right, Pete was born here, but his family had moved from Holland like 5 years or 3 years or whatever before that. And he had never been to Holland until he was, 10 years ago or whatever. And as an adult goes back and lands there and goes, wow, it's just like I was, just like I knew it inside out, You think, wow, that's, and I think that happens, I don't think we've got the market cornered on it or anything like that. So I'm sure that whatever someone's background is, especially if you've celebrated that heritage, I think that that sticks with you. I also attribute that to, why I don't really like water very much. Like, they probably had to throw way too many bodies overboard coming across after the famine, and you're thinking, Jesus, I don't like the ocean, No thanks, I don't want, or, I don't know, maybe somebody made my, 150 years ago, some ancestor had to go up and, on the roof somewhere and fell off or something, because, like, I don't do heights, here I am on the 2nd floor, and that's making me nervous. Anyway, so that's my Ireland story, right? We will get out of here before dark, it's okay. Could I go back? Would I fit in and feel at home where I've never been? Not in my time, unseen but known, beneath my feet and in my could I go back? First in my mind, picture life, both harsh and kind. Drink it in. From 4 years old, through troubles and stories told, could I go back? Could I go back? Perhaps this year my mind's already traveled there to meet someone who could be me, but for the century, could I go back and find my kin? This settling to bring to life the fields and homes beneath my feet, and in my home could I go back? Could I go back and stay a year, find contentment, conquer fear, reach and touch what is unknown beneath